Kelly, why don't we go ahead and start? Because I know,
Hey,
yeah, that'll be great.
hey, good morning, everyone. Don't get overwhelmed today because literally everything I'm going to show you, I have it in a document share after that will be posted to the site, and some of it's already there. And if you felt like you were in a loophole and just needed some more consistency, you could set up a private Zoom with me as well, and I can talk you through it. A little disclaimer before we start. A lot of what I'm going to share with you today has been shared by other colleagues, and I've just comprised it in one place. I'm going to focus more on the physical education aspect today, where I've already shared quite a bit of health stuff, but if you want more, you're going to get it in the end. Alrighty, so let me get my screen up here.
And while she's doing that, if I can remind everybody to sign into the chat box, last name, comma, first name, comma, school, let's see, and district.
Okay. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do today, there are some free escape rooms out there, and I'm just reminding people again, but they can be a little bit complex. So if you have little ones, I'm also going to show you today how you can create your own very quickly and easy and not get too overwhelmed. So the first site that you're going to be linked to would be some simple free ones that are available right now. And basically, you could send this website to your students, and this particular one has choice. So they would just scroll down to where their interest area was. And again, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so I see Hogwarts Escape Room, and I simply click on the link and start. And it's just a series of clues and puzzles or locks that I can navigate through. And if I don't get the correct answer, it's just going to redirect me. You know, oops, try again, close, whatever you need to do. And basically, a lot of you are probably doing similar things like this in your rooms already, or you perhaps have lock boxes or what have you. I don't have that budget, so that is not a possibility for me. I'm always looking for freebies. Another site with more digital escape rooms is Kids Activities. And again, all of these things right now are free, but if you are looking for longevity here, you might want to take some of their clue ideas and develop it maybe to your school or district and make it more kid-friendly and things that they recognize. But there are certainly plenty here to play. Some of them are repeats from the first website. But again, you just click on the one that you're interested in and you read and click on the answers that are most appropriate. So these are ones that are already created. And some of them are kind of difficult. So we want to avoid frustration levels. So a lot of you are familiar with Google Forms. And Google Forms are a great place to create quizzes and different assessments, especially in remote learning opportunities. And they're also a great way to create locks and escape rooms. So you'll be getting, and I believe they're already up on the website as well, there's one website that takes you through pictures and how to, if you like to read directions and you like that narrative aspect. And there's also a YouTube video, plus I'm going to do an example with you today. So I'm going to click on this site first just to kind of show you what does this mean? What is a Google Form escape room? And basically you're setting up your form just like you would anything else. With a little practice, you can then make copies. And then you have the option to shift things around, and you have it for a long time. And I like things that I can go back to and shift a question or two or change things around briefly and, you know, and have that available in minutes. So this site has some great ideas, but one of the things I really like here is this particular lady has shared, again, screenshots and step-by-step directions, but she also has listed a great list of ciphers. Okay, like how do I make a lockbox? I don't get what I want to do. And the thing with that is you can literally create anything. you can, you know, something spelled backwards. You can use Morse code. You can, you know, fill in the blank and take the first or the third letter of every word to create the code to break the box. You can do anything and everything, which makes it really, really simple. So what does that look like in real time? This particular site has one that you can try. So if you would like to do an example, you certainly can do that without having to get too fancy and sign in and what have you. So if I'm going to start an escape room from scratch, I am going to go to Google Forms. And if you don't use that often, you can always go to your applications, or you can just type in Google Forms and go to the site. And it's really simple to use. And you're going to see that I have a ton of stuff here. I use a lot of Google Forms. But I'm going to want to start with a blank form. And I'm going to actually, for the sake of time, I'm going to just use some things from another one that I've already started. And I'm going to use a lot of the same stuff. So, whoops, off to the wrong thing already, Untitled. So this would be, whoops, escape room example, okay? And I want to add some sort of picture right up here in the front. I like to kind of do that as I go. So I want to customize. I'm going to use my little art palette. And I already had an image that I wanted to upload. You can pick from the ones that are there. I'm choosing to upload one of my own. And I already, whoops, had that ready. And I have just a padlock. I'm going to upload that. Takes just a second. And I'm just going to move my box so it shows the padlock a little bit better. I'm going to click done. I'm just going to start building my room. What do I want it to look like when the students get there? Okay, so they have an escape room example. So now I'm going to start building kind of a story. In this case, I've already started to make like a COVID escape room. Oops, security keeps getting in my way here. Sorry. Have to shift things around as people are entering. And for the sake of time, instead of typing in live time here, I'm just going to put what my kids are going to be doing here. This is just a COVID-19, you know, you want to escape quarantine. I built a little story here. You certainly don't have to. Kids love to go through just simple clues. It doesn't even have to really have to do with anything. It's supposed to be fun. So in order to build from here, now I have kind of a picture and what my kids are going to be doing. And my kids are used to doing these, so they kind of know the process. So in order to start my first section, I don't want to start right off with a question. I'm actually going to build a section because I want my students to be able to answer it correctly in order to be able to move on to the next question. So what I'm going to do with this first one is I'm just going to trash it. They have that as an example. And instead of adding a question right off, I'm actually going to add a section. Okay? And this is going to be lock number 1. Whoops. And what I want to do with that lock number 1 is I already had a little blurb here that I want to use for that, what my students are going to be doing. And so for their first lock, I'm going to have them use Morse code to figure out a word below to help them get back to normal. And I'm telling them it's going to have to be all lowercase letters. I'm doing this because they're going to have to type that text a particular way. And this all has to kind of do with, again, getting back to normal. So I want to add a section again. And in this section, I'm going to add the Morse code. And I'm going to come over because I have an image of that. And again, I'm going to browse. I already had this ready. And these are just images that I found from other people that have created or you've researched them. I'm a big person with code. So again, now I've dropped this Morse code in here. Now the word that they're going to try to figure out, I'm going to again add a section. And here now I'm going to copy what I want them to do in the description. I give a lot of direction that way if they don't have to scroll back and forth the slides. And again, I'm sorry here. I wanted to actually delete this. My apologies. I needed to add a question here instead. So I get down here. Now I want my question. I'm sorry. They needed to short answer. And I'm putting the question here. What is the word? Lowercase letters only. I'm going to require that this gets answered. And I want a response validation, which means that if they don't get it right, they're going to get a little message from me. Almost. Keep trying. Okay, something kind of positive here. It's going to be a text answer. It doesn't need to really contain anything fancy, and I'm going to tell you right now the answer is hello. And again, sorry, I need to do this again. Almost. Try again. And I'm going to insert another photo of the code that they're going to use. And we're going to take a look at this question in real time now. So they're going to use the patterns up above to figure out this word, and they're going to be typing it down below. They're not going to see this section. They're either going to get it correct and be able to move on to the next question, or they're going to get a validation response that says almost, try again. And again, I'm requiring them to answer it to move on to the next puzzle. So if I would like to see this in real time, I'm going to go up here and take a preview of it. Like, okay, what are my students going to see? They're going to get to the lock and the little story that I started with them. They're going to click next. And they're going to look at the lock. And now they're going to take a look at what they need to do here. So let's say they think the word is health. And they submit it. They're going to get the validation message that says, almost, try again. Oh, they go back and they notice that it is hello. And they submit. And then it would move them on to the next puzzle piece in the series. So I'll create one more just so we have a little bit of a puzzle going here. So now I'm back to my teacher view, and you can see that I have a response because I just responded to it. So you can actually play with your own example to make sure that it works properly. So I got lock number 1, and yeah, it's kind of complicated. So now I'm going to go down, I'm going to add a section. And this is going to be lock number 2. And I'm just going to continue this same process. And again, I'm using for my example here because it's just a little bit faster for today's purpose. And I'm going to continue that same process. I'm ready for my question now. In this particular one, I want to use, again, a short answer response. I'm going to get my question ready. And this one has to do with the food groups. And so I want them to name the 5 food groups and use the first letter of each group to unlock the next padlock. And again, I'm just continuing kind of the story. When they're able to get back out and about after quarantine, you know, they're going to start with simple hellos with people. Have they been eating from the 5 food groups?
She can't see me.
I'm going to require this answer. Again, I want a response validation in text form.
Could everybody please mute? Hearing some background stuff. So if everybody would mute, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Perfect. I'm going to put the picture in of the diagram that I want. And again, I had these already ahead of time because it just saves time. Pretty sure I named it food groups. Maybe I didn't. Hang on. What did I name it? Oh, my plate. Sorry. My head is spinning a mile a minute here. And I just created this with labels in Google Docs and added arrows. And they're going to have to go in that same order. Okay. They're going to be putting the answer in. And again, they're using the first letter of the groups. So in this case, we have our protein, and I've asked for capitals. We have vegetables, we have fruit, we have dairy, and we have grains. And again, I might want to say the same validation message here, almost try again in case they don't get it. Again, I've required it. And so now I've added a second question. All righty. And to finish, I'm just going to do these 2 examples and we can preview it again. I am going to add a last section if they're successful. I like to do this. This is a congratulations. If they've been successful, and where we're all into Bitmojis and avatars and everything else, I'm going to insert my, I had a copy of my congratulatory Bitmoji that I'm going to put in the puzzle.
And Kelly, somebody had a question. Does it matter the order of the letters that you did for that?
In that case, it did. So I said use capital letters that correspond with the numbers and no spaces in between.
Thank you.
So I'm giving them that direction. So again, if we were taking a look at the student copy, whoops, not the palette, the student copy, the eyeball. Now they got the story again. So let's see, they're gonna hot to trot here. They're gonna do lock 1, which we already know now is hello. It's gonna take them on to the next lock now because they got that one right. And again, I'm requiring that they answer them in this particular order. And they come down here and maybe they need to go back and look at the directions. And they put food groups in and bada boom, bada bing. Yay, they made it through. And there's my Bitmoji congratulating them. If I want to share this with students, it is a pretty simple process to do. When you go into your settings, a lot of you are familiar if you've already done Google Forms, you share them with my students. I don't need to collect their email responses. I'm restricting this to my users. So I'm going to get the results from the kids, whether I score it or not. I use these for enrichment and engagement. I don't tend to score an escape room unless it was something that I probably spent quite a bit of time on and students were very used to it, maybe even a practice round. I'm just going to take a look, make sure it is restricted. And oftentimes I'm just going to add that to my Google Classroom. So when you go in and you set up your assignment just like you normally would, you would just attach your Google form. And escape room example is the one that I'd be looking for when I attach that. Now, if I wanted to make different ranges of the same escape room, I simply can just make a copy of this one, which really makes things nice, because if I want to do a copy of my escape room example, but I want it for high school, so I'm going to maybe change some of the answers. I'm going to make that copy, and then I have that available as well. Okay, so I'm not creating new forms. Now, when my students go onto Google Classroom and they go to do the escape room, I don't have to worry about copies or anything else. With Google Forms, you don't have to make a copy for each student because they're signing in with their email. That's all it takes. And if I wanted to see how the students did, I could take a look at the responses and individually. Since I did my own, I'd be able to see that Kelly Kojal went through the escape room, and I could see what she got right or wrong. Alrighty, and if you wanted to give feedback, you could, or if a kid is really stuck on something, or if you see frustration levels rising, I would say start very, very small. It could be a simple, very simple escape room. Okay, you can even have them add pictures and use examples. And the 2 websites I gave you give you some marvelous clues of things that you can add in. And the freebies right now have a lot of great questions and things that you could reword and make them your own and edit them very easily. Okay, and use imagery. Now, if you don't want to get that fancy and you just want like 3 questions, type in 3 simple questions, but I would just make each one a lock, and that's all there is to it. You can shuffle the sections around as well. So if you would like to, this particular one has quite a few locks. There's a teen brain one and all kinds of stuff in this particular one. But if I wanted to shift the order here, like, oh no, I really would like to change my questions, you certainly can drag and drop them or move a section. You can take things out, shift the order, and what happens here is it will just tell you where it continues. But I would always preview it with the eyeball ahead of time and practice with your work, because as you can understand, if you went to put answers in and it didn't work the way you thought, imagine the young person on the other end saying, this is a joke. So practice with your work, or have a colleague, or share it with a colleague or a loved one and have them run through the examples. And again, some of these are health, well, they are health related, but they don't have to be. They use both sides of the brain, believe me, and they can be very, very small. Alrighty. And Wordman, again, is a good place to go find puzzles, but you can find imagery of all types of codes and ciphers, again, on the website that I provided for you. So I know that was a lot, but you have a tutorial with visuals, and you have a tutorial YouTube video that I've put up that you could pause, start and stop, and literally build it as you go if this is something that you think that you would be interested in using. Okay. And the share piece is pretty easy, because if you're keeping it with your kids, you don't have to worry about copies.
Denise has her hand raised. Denise?
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly. That's great. I was just wondering, I've done Google Forms before, but when I go to the responses, I don't see the kids' names. Can you just refresh how you do that? Because I just copied the link and put it in my Google Classroom. But when I went to look at the responses, I didn't have any kids' names or anybody to see who actually was there.
When I set my classrooms up, I require their email. So in your settings, you can require their email. So basically that's how they sign in. You can also put the link to your Google form in an email to your students, But when I'm using them, I oftentimes have them into Google Classroom. And even though the kids know the answers, oftentimes once they've done the escape rooms, my kids like to go back and play games over and over, even when they know the answers. And if they like to review and they like to do it, all the power to them. So I usually leave them open. And in my settings, I may not limit them to one response. I may let them go in and respond multiple times, especially if I'm not awarding any type of numerical credit or proficiency credit. It is for enrichment. I want to encourage them to play it at appropriate times. Okay. And I'd say for screen purposes, maybe you have them, you know, you don't want them spending a lot of screen time. You can do things, and the examples I've seen are, you know, you're in shark infested waters and you're in your house. Very carefully get up onto a chair and take a selfie and post it. You know, it could be even a challenge that way to move on. Silly things that kids like. Okay. And I know that's a lot for this, but again, you have nice tutorials you can pause, you can go back to. And that's what I did when I built my first one, is I used that YouTube video and I created it along with the video. You can also take any worksheet or example that you have, like if you have something in your room that's a real go-to piece. If you kind of make your locks that go along perhaps with 5 or 6 questions on a worksheet, that works quite well. Keep it simple. You do not have to get fancy from the start. It'll come with experience. Okay? And you don't have to even do a storyline with it if you really don't want to. Okay? You can use it as a review. So those are escape rooms. And I can certainly answer more questions a little bit later on. And again, these sites are up for you. And they include examples for you to use as well. So I'm going to move on for the sake of time to virtual classrooms. First session I did, I focused on health classroom. Today I'm going to focus on building like a gymnasium or virtual field day type of opportunity that could be used in health or physical education, and certainly level to whatever your need is. Don't let virtual classrooms overwhelm you. If you think like a Bitmoji and avatar is a little bit silly, perhaps for the level you teach, it's just something that students recognize with familiarity. Again, if you're not comfortable with that or creating an image of yourself, you certainly do not have to include an avatar in order to have a virtual classroom. Think of it as a nice place to put things along the same content line or things that you want students to review, go back to, or do on their own outside of your regular classroom. It's not in place of, it's meant to enhance. So if you would like to use a Bitmoji, which is just simply a cartoon character of yourself, you would start by visiting the Apple Store or Google Play and search Bitmoji. And you're going to install it for free. It only takes a couple of minutes tops. If you're not comfortable with that, perhaps you might just want to take a look at this and start with the classroom itself and maybe go back and add a Bitmoji later on down the road. It's really not that important to the whole process. If you are going to do this, you would build your Bitmoji according to the steps once that you have installed it. And what I mean by that is you're going to give it features. If you want it to look like you, you're going to choose those aspects and features that match you best. Okay, and in a moment you'll see, and you saw the mine in the congratulatory, the side ponytail is what I rock most days, and the gray hair and some wrinkles, and that's what they're used to seeing. So that's what I did with mine. In order to add it, I like things that are easily accessible when I go to build something. So in order to add that to your toolbar, you are going to be adding that extension. And so in your Chrome Web Store, once you've added your Bitmoji, it has a little icon here, a little winky, smiley green background. I'm not going to remove mine because I already have created it, but you would be clicking add. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it available for you when you go to build your classroom, which I'll show you next. So you can click on that green Bitmoji icon once you have it, and then you're going to be able to search for your Bitmoji doing various things and poses. So creating a classroom. Again, I've given you a YouTube link for those of you that like to kind of stop and start and pause if you don't like to go back to these types of recordings. And I know I'm a fast talker, I'm full of caffeine. This you can go back at your leisure and when you are in that mental space to be able to do that. And I have typed out the directions for what I'm going to do as well, plus all kinds of little hacks. And then you're also going to get several examples, okay? You'll get a wellness studio that I've already uploaded. A lot of you may have already seen. These are lessons that I found online. You'll have a vaping one that you can use as an example to get started. 2 human sexuality classrooms, 3 virtual gymnasiums, and a sample field day. And again, these are just templates that you can start with, and these are not all mine. I've tried to give credit where it's due here. These are people that have shared their ideas. They're like you and I. They kind of started with the idea, and a lot of people will take that template and then they'll pull from that. Like, yes, I like these 3 things, but man, these 5 over here do not suit my needs. Find a dandy. You want to make sure you're using the ones that suit your needs. So to start your classroom, you're going to go to Google Slides. And are we good? Good. Alrighty. So slides. And I'm going to choose a blank slide to start with. And I'm going to title it Sample Gymnasium for today. I don't need these boxes, so I'm just going to click on them and delete them. And I'm ready to roll here. So one of the cool things I'm going to see already, because I did have my Bitmoji uploaded, and the talk box is kind of in my way here. There we go. If you can see that I'm hovering over my green Bitmoji, it's going to let me pick images from that a little bit later on. Okay, so I have it readily available. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a background, my classroom. So I'm simply going to click background. And I'm going to choose an image. Now, if I'm going to do a Google image search, it's very important that I put in floor, whoops, and wall background. And if I do that, it's going to give me several options to choose from, but I get bored very quickly scrolling through images. Nobody has the time for that. I had already found one previously that I wanted to use for this. So instead of choosing one of these, I'm going to upload one of my own. And I chose this particular one because it looks a lot like our gymnasium at our school. And I don't want my kids to be able to fiddle with that background. So it's very important I go through background to set this one. Done. So now you see the gym, and we have a stage, and I kind of wanted that there. And I'm envisioning, if I'm creating this, I have some cones out with some stations for my kids to be able to do some activities that I'd like them to practice in my absence. So I like the way this looks. Once I set my stuff on here, my kids aren't going to be able to mess with that background. It's set in stone. I'll be able to arrange some images as well as I start to add to it. So I'm going to start with, I would like to insert somewhere where I'm going to be able to type. So insert an image, and I'm going to search the web. And it's very important that I start with the word transparent here. And I'm going to look for a transparent whiteboard that I might have in my gymnasium. And I look down through these styles, and I don't want to use a lot of space for a whiteboard. So I'm going to pick this little feller over here. And I'm just going to insert it. And it's going to appear. And I'm going to size that. And I'm going to keep that over here in the corner. And then I think I want to put some directions here. Like, what do I want my kids to be able to do here? So I'm going to insert a text box now. I'm just going to put that on here. And I'm going to type in, do these things. Now, that's not what I would normally do, folks, but for the sake of time, I'm going to center it. I want it in red, school colors. Okay. And this will be the directions perhaps that my kids will follow. And now I'm thinking I'm going to want some cones. So I'm going to insert an image again from the web. I got that word transparent there. And I want some cones. Oh, boys, I like that one right there. Look at that. Perfect. It's going to drop it over in here. And of course, I'm going to size it down. And I'm thinking, what would I like my students to do at this first station? So I kind of already have an idea. What would I want them practicing if I wasn't there? And I'm a soccer fanatic. So I'm going to pull from some things. I may search a soccer ball next. But again, for the sake of time, I already have one. And I'm going to go to that sample again. Sorry, I keep getting these toolbars in my way here. Get out of there. And by that cone, I had copied from my other one, and I'm going to paste it. So the examples like I give you today, you'd be able to do this same thing. Now, what do I want them to do with that soccer ball? Well, I'm going to link it to a YouTube video of how to juggle. So to do that, you would click on the ball, and I already have it done, but you would insert link, and you would put the link that you want there. This particular one is a YouTube video that I already put in Safe YouTube, which is one of those add-ons. I highly recommend that if you're using YouTube videos that you have restrictions on them to take those ads out of there. Or maybe it's even a video of you dribbling, okay, as you're demonstrating for your class, something that they could practice. So once I've done that, when my kids click on that soccer ball, it's then going to take them to that YouTube link. And this particular one's a safe YouTube link. Or no, it's not. Sorry, this one's not. And it's going to take them to the link for juggling the soccer ball. Okay? And then you're going to keep building from there. So there are lots of things that you can put in to your gymnasium. Other things I might want to put in here. I'm going to add my Bitmoji now. So when I go up to pull my Bitmoji, I go up to my icon, and I'm going to, pick what I want my Bitmoji doing. And I like the line dance. So I searched for a dance, and I like this one right here. This is me doing some dancing, which is very normal. So I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste that into my classroom. Okay. I'm going to size myself to some sort of an appropriate size here. And when they click on me, maybe I want them to have a dance station. So I also want another cone to indicate that this is a station. And I placed a cone here. By me, indicating that it's a station. I could even go back and put a number on that cone if I wanted kids doing it in a particular order. And again, I would want to insert a link to, insert a link here, and I have me doing the electric slide on video, and I would paste that here. So please don't judge. But since I already have that here, I'm going to drop that into my sample classroom. Whoops. Copy. And again, I have myself rock and rolling here. So when my kids click on me, it's going to, in this case, take them to a safe YouTube of, unfortunately, you seeing me doing the electric slide. Okay? Bada boom, bada bing. So I use some videos of myself when obviously someone does something much better than I do. I'm certainly going to include that somewhere else. But again, safety, 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 and less is more. And maybe I only want 2 or 3 things in this particular gymnasium. We're the Fort Fairfield Tigers. Maybe I want to put that up here in a text box with a picture of a tiger. Other things, as you can see, here's one that has a few more stations. And again, I just searched different things. I've added a Bitmoji of me trying to do a pull up here. And this particular one is linked to, again, beginner pull-up progressions. And it takes you through how to use that. Other things here, I added a clock. And this has 7-minute workouts. I like anything with dice and cards. So another one of my PE stations, maybe with a deck of cards, a lot of people have at home. And it takes them through what they select with their family and what they can do for an activity. Again, spinning a basketball, yoga. And I mean, these are just random things I set up for right now. And of course, which a lot of you are already using, I'm absolutely sure. Definitely, we have a link to the Derby workout, so workout of the day. Or if you wanted a particular one, you didn't want it to be so overwhelming here or just a challenge, you could certainly link your students to one simple thing depending on your grade level. Okay.
I think they are in the other room laying down quietly.
Okay, so.
But since they're not screaming at you when you came down the stairs, I don't know.
So how to share your classroom. Now that let's say you've built your classroom and you want to share this with your students, you have a couple of options. You can download it as a PDF and attach that PDF to your Google Classroom or an email. PDFs take quite a while to kind of load everything up, as you know, but at least it would be safe and nobody could mess it up. However, most people are going to want to share safely by going to your share button and changing, I want anyone here with the link. And I'd be able to copy this link and share it with whomever I wanted to, which you have a lot of those links. And when you click on them, oftentimes it will prompt you to make a copy. I would say professionally, just always get in the habit if somebody shares something like this with you, just make a copy. Make a copy and name it yours right out of the gate. That way you have it. If you'd like to credit their work somewhere along the way, you certainly can, but the ones I've given you today are wide open. They don't require any credit. People will get a little frustrated with the images here. Let's say I want this Bosa ball in front of this cone. We can certainly do things that help with that. I can click on the cone. I can click arrange. I can send that backward. And now I can move that ball forward if I want. It's just a matter of using the tools that are there. I don't like the way these yoga mats are arranged. I want to rotate those horizontally. I want them going the other direction. So you can play with your images, certainly, and set this up any way you would like. One of the really cool things I plan on doing with the supplemental virtual classrooms I'm going to do next year is I have a de-escalation section in my room where students they have a virtual classroom that they use for strategies to self-manage. And the picture of the area in my room, that space that's designated for that, is the picture of the background. You can also do this with your own gymnasiums. Get in a corner, take a nice long shot of your gymnasium, and really solidify your images that students recognize. Okay. For right now, I just picked one that looks a lot like the area. So students would think, that looks a lot like, hey, the middle high school or the recreation department. Okay. So that is what you can do in a virtual classroom. For those of you who are here today from a health aspect, and you're thinking, well, that's not the kind of stuff I would add in my classroom. Well, maybe you're looking for a transparent desk. Okay, something to add, and you like the looks of that first desk, and you want that in that classroom. Okay, off to the side or in the middle. And you size that desk down to where you want it. And you can even do things like format options. Oh no, my desk is actually gray. I want to recolor it. It's this gray, it's not brown. Well, there you go. Now you have your gray desk. Okay. If you can't find what you're looking for, especially physical educators, I have found that the items that you often are going to want in your gymnasiums can be very difficult to find. So you can use from people who have already created, and there are tons of them on Facebook. I mean, up into the thousands. And there's also a site, Bitmoji Craze for Educators, that you can belong to, just like you do the health and PE sites. It's a matter of signing in and just, being professional if you're interested. And a lot of people have access to freebie backgrounds and images that you can't find anywhere else. However, you can also leave here and do general Google image searches. But I would caution you here. Again, let's do treadmill images. Okay, maybe I want a treadmill in my gymnasium. I'm going to caution you to use tools. You're definitely going to want to make sure you have a transparent background. But you may also want to consider usage rights unless you like to read through copyright. When you go to usage right, you can get labeled for reuse, or you can select the type of use that you want. If you're still not finding what you want here, you do have the option to go back and not filtered by license. This looks a lot like the treadmill at our school. So when I click on that, I can then go down and read the agreement on it if I want to use it in my gymnasium. Again, I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy that image. I'm going to go back to my classroom, and I'm just going to paste that treadmill in here. Okay. And again, let's hope, this is one I could use. I could place myself on it running if I wanted to. If it's not, one that's protected, great, drop it in there. Otherwise, I find out later that, no, shouldn't be using that. Get rid of it. Delete it. If I want to hook that up to how to use a treadmill at our fitness center at our school, I can do that. The sky's the limit. So that would be an example of a virtual gymnasium. Oops, you don't want that. A lot of people are doing field days. A lot of teachers have already created field days. So if you wanted a copy of this particular teacher's field day, which they did like the cone activity, you could take out their Bitmoji, replace it with yours, or just take theirs out altogether and use the cones. Different activities that this teacher has range from various things. This boombox takes you to the cha-cha slide. Another station here, you know, keep it up. National Field Day. And this is a great way to do a virtual field day or a remote learning experience. This one has a lot of stations, and again, they have choice here. But if you just wanted for them to practice 3 skills that maybe you're doing in a unit, just use 3 connections. Keep it simple. And again, copy, copy, copy before you use. And again, if I don't want that teacher's Bitmoji there, I would just simply click on that Bitmoji and I would delete it. Or if I wanted to rearrange things a different way or use a different cone, if I wanted to take this banner off, maybe I just insert a text box and create my own. Okay, and again, if you're using your own gymnasium pictures or fitness center pictures, you have everything you need, okay, to create your classroom. And again, you can click at those at your leisure. You'll have access to all of those. Health people, there's a couple of different ones here. And again, these are not mine, but they are open to the public. And you can even attach assessments. This particular teacher has several screens. And depending on what you click on, it takes you to the information that is linked to it. So be very careful that you are, using images or, you know, websites that your students are allowed to access, okay? Especially like how to use condoms effectively. If that's not something, you know, that your school is too keen on you doing remotely, you may want to get rid of that before you just use somebody else's classroom. So make sure you're clicking through, checking those links. If you're starting with somebody else's and kind of adding your own, but if you're starting from scratch, start small and see what type of feedback you get from your kids and then go from there. You've seen a lot of people animating them and making their Bitmojis doing stuff. That's not for today. It is not difficult to do. My Google Classroom banners right now, some of them are animated. I'll take you to that one last thing just for today, because again, probably your heads are spinning. And so some of my banners right now are animated, and they're working on making these banners lighter. So this one is, you know, my house and my office hours, and it has me kind of coming in from the side, jogging in, and okay.
Great.
Those are all done with free applications. You can use Snapchat, you can use all kinds of things. I don't have time for that right now. I literally need it free, and I need it to work in a matter of minutes for me. I'm all about simple, and I know that may look like it was a really big deal. It really was not. That banner was created the same way a virtual classroom was created. It looks like some things I have here in my home, and now I have it. If I want to change things out, I can. And that's it in a nutshell. And one that, you know, I shared with my students was the wellness studio that a lot of my kids use. This is one that I did. It looks like a little bit like our fitness center, and I'm all about mindfulness and wellness. I've used some of my own artwork in here and some of the images that the kids see. I carry Avengers lunchbox. I got the salt lamp rock and rolling all the time. This looks a lot like a plant in my room, things with kindness. And this one's attached to things that students do in my classroom. You know, they like the sphere. So this takes them to the video on that to remind them that there are things that you can do at home. Okay, they can learn on their own or things that they've done with me. So that's that.
Chris, did you have a question?
Yes, can you share the coffee shop?
Yes, this is done by a very gifted virtual classroom creator. And you will be getting a copy of this as well. Found on Facebook, and this was the Bitmoji craze for educators. And this woman actually has several. She did a Starbucks cafe style, and she did share some of her lessons embedded here. Some of them you don't have access to, but you could request, and you can add assessments. So if I'm looking at her lesson 1 here, she's using Catch My Breath, which I'm sure a lot of you use in your health classes as well. And she has linked here. My only caution here is if you like that and you want to set yours up that same way, that's excellent. I would make a copy, take out the things that are unique to this particular teacher, add in your titles and a bit emoji, or maybe you don't even want your bit emoji there, great. If you use Catch My Breath, go to Catch My Breath, take the links that you want for that lesson, and make sure that you are the owner so that your kids have access to everything right out of the gate. It's gonna look like they do if you click on this, but they don't. Just make sure that you own that material by making a copy. So if she has placed something here like an activity, I can go to that then, and from here I can make a copy. Or if I'm using this curriculum or part of my curriculum, I'm gonna have access to that anyway. And again, she has several things to click on here. Now I will warn you that this particular one has a couple of little things here you wanna be careful of. Again, make sure that you understand how many things there are to click onto by playing with it yourself before you share it with your students.
Which ones are they?
Oh, which ones are they? Well, sometimes just the imagery has a copyright. So she's done very well here. And those of you that are familiar with Starbucks, now they have released use of this cafe.
Oh, that's cool.
Because so many Bitmoji people are using it that it just, everyone recognizes it as Starbucks, so it's free advertising for them. They're like, go away, you know, add what you want to it. Okay, now I won't lie. This one took a long time for her to create and place things. And so to go in and recreate it by building it from scratch, yeah, unless you really enjoy this like me, and I'm kind of like, woohoo, it's like an art project. The rest of you are like, heck no, why would I recreate? It's already there. You would just add the lessons you would like. And if you like those, make a copy and reattach them. That way you're the owner and everything your kids have access to. Age appropriate, goes along with your curriculum. And kids respond well, even the high school kids. Like when I put that banner up weeks ago, I mean, I had kids that never did any of the work, but very quickly, they are quick to say, hey, I saw the banner. I never did any of the session work. But they saw the banner. And so I thought, they saw the banner. Wonder if I put up a copy of a virtual classroom, if they would do any of the activities. And I didn't ask for them to get back to me on any of that, but before you know it, kids are like, oh my gosh, your head was cut off, and I can't remember what other, I did a couple of line dances. One of them I was headless for half the video. Listen, I didn't have time to recreate that. I wasn't very happy about videoing myself all that much anyway. So what I did was say, yep, that's the headless version, so now you have it.
Humor is always great, though. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, this is horrible. It was like, hey, I
No.
like that. The headless
Yeah.
prison.
Yeah. If you're planking and you can't do the minute, but that's your challenge and you poop out at 10 seconds, put it up there. The kids love to say, hey, I went longer than you did, or I'll challenge you when school's back in. Great. Awesome.
Wow. This really makes things interactive. Oh my goodness. That's what's really.
It does. But doing escape rooms and virtual classrooms the same day, I'm sure a lot of you are like, bah, 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 bah. Use what's already there. Strip it down, simplify it. Maybe you just want to send practice dribbling a soccer ball home. Great. That's it. Put that up as your one skill, your enrichment skill. So,
Thank you so much, Kelly. You've gotten a lot of kudos in the chat box too.
thank you.
Awesome. That was just
And again,
great.
I'm just using what a lot of other educators have already shared. I never would have done any of this if it wasn't introduced to me by someone else, and the gracious work that everyone is sharing. Again, Jean and Susan will have all of these sample classrooms. If you're chomping at the bit and you can't wait for all of that to get posted, I am typing my email right now in the chat box. Please feel free to say, hey, can you share that with me? I need that ASAP in my life. I'll try to get it to you at some point between the 19 meetings today, but feel free to harass me via email. Okay? And again, make those copies, folks, make those copies, and all of these notes, how-tos, all of that is going to be up on the main DOE. And I would encourage you, if you make anything, and even if you're like, hey, that doesn't even measure up, well, why doesn't it? If you've made something and it's purposeful and it gets our kids moving and thinking, you've done your job. 2 thumbs up. Great. And the more that we have, the better that we can share and make them.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. That was fantastic. I'm like all pumped up.
Yeah, or you're dizzy and you need to go for a run.
That's right. That's right. But great. All right. Well, again, you have Kelly's email address, but we'll be posting this material pretty soon. So, any other questions for Kelly? And otherwise, I think it's after 10. Yeah.
It is. I'm sure you have things to do. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you,
Yep.
Kelly. You too. And again, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So you all can